morning, good morning, good morning. It's going to be a dull-ish video today because I've woken up feeling pretty sick again. I've got a cold sore emerging, and with that comes a whole bunch of other symptoms that I can only assume at this point is being pushed through because of the situation I'm in. I've been getting cold sores for about 4 or 5 years. I've never had them before. And they appear at times of great stress. So before all the vaccine stuff started, still COVID, but I was doing gigs and it was pretty stressful because I hadn't done a lot before. And when it would always be right when I was going to do a gig because it's stressful. I was going to go sing to people in a public place, and it would even just getting there and all the stuff, and I had a lot of other things going on that would just peak it up to the top, and then I'd get this cold sore. And I think every gig I did, I had a cold sore. But this is very different. This is literally the stress of being put into this position, and it's such a funny thing because in the back of my head I can feel that presence of the people that have done this, the people that were, you know what I mean, so blinded by a promotional campaign that the simple solution is to go, oh, you're getting cold sores and you're sick, oh, that's probably from coronavirus because you didn't get the vaccine. And it's like, no, it's from the social ostracization where I'm fucking sitting in a fucking room by myself talking to my phone for 1.5 years. Where I've been sent to jail, where I've been like, I know it is. I wake up every morning. My personality before all this, I've had a hard, tricky life and I haven't been perfect. But I've always remained an optimistic person. That's why I'm still here. That's why I'm still here doing it. But I can feel that optimism is now just a little speck, and I'm stuck here having to like map this out, and somehow it's like a balancing act between like not just losing everything completely, but I can feel the stress of it on my body. I don't want to interact with anyone around me because I know that they're possessed by this authoritarian scourge. And so nothing else can be, I can't participate in anything small talk or like, because that's where it's been kept. I've been doing this, I'm like, hey, this is serious, and it just gets kept in this like this veil of just nothingness. Oh yes, we're aware that you're doing that, but we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to talk about bread and what was on the telly. It's like, I can't do that. And the easy solution is to get away, but it's not very clear that there is anywhere to get away to. And so my body and my mind is in a state of stress. Yeah. Just such a low, like, yeah, such a low point of anything, like such low energy, low pain stuff. I've been trying to get more mobility in my hips, and that's another stress on top of it, because it's extremely painful. The way that my muscles were kind of had adapted to do these things is undoing all that damage is incredibly stressful and incredibly painful and incredibly exhausting. Like, just the all of it. So from there, I don't want this to be just a downer, but I thought I'd better make that clear. And I can feel whatever this virus is just attacking every single bit of me. Like, I'm so, like, my cognition is down, which you can tell. Like, this is why I want to do these. And it can't be, this is what happens when you do these things. Like, this is all coming from, or the majority of this is coming from a social stress created by someone trying to sell something to make a virus better. And it's just crazy. And the thing I wanted to talk about this morning was how we have been trapped into a gamified competition strategy that just doesn't make sense. The world's money has gone into tech for the last 15, 20 years. Not more than that. The last 30 years. Has just been flying out of everywhere else and gone into tech. Because it was making money. It was working. And then the more money goes in, the more it works. And the more it proves itself that it's worked. But the problem is that tech is disconnected from reality. It isn't reality. And so you can see what we've done. It's literally like me investing my entire thing into, and people do it, into my reflection. We can see that as well, can't we? This is like bodybuilders and things like that. It's an abstraction. It's something other than here. And we've invested the real resources, both like people resources, like people's literal fucking lives have been lost in this abstraction that is so incredibly fragile and so incredibly fictitious that I believe when this actually starts to land as reality for a large enough portion of humanity, there will be such sadness and such despair and such shame that it will be hard to recover from. And the thing, I don't know whether this comes because I had a father that was older and maybe it did. Like I was a kid. I wanted a PlayStation like every other kid. We got one, and there was kind of, I don't remember it really specifically, but it probably was a bit of a like, oh, don't waste your time on that thing, on that game. And that's what's happened globally. And it's not just the guys who made these things. I watched this, is it Disposition or whatever it was called, at the Senate inquiry with the tech guys. I watched a fair portion of it. And we're at the doorstep of the most shocking revelation in known human history. And I saw it by watching that. These guys, they don't know what they've done. And it's not just them. It is humanity has done this. They're sitting on these positions as public companies. Money flew to them. Your money flew to them to go full steam ahead into some tech. And I can see why. This isn't, I'm not trying to play Monday morning quarterback here and go like, oh, well, obviously this is, da-da-da-da-da. But it's just, the money just chased the tech, and the tech isn't real. And so where did all the money for the tech come from? Well, it came from the real things. And so now what do we have? We have a tech economy. And what is doing the damage? The tech economy. And why is that? Because the tech economy is not grounded in reality. It can do things in 2 minutes that would have taken 20 years to set up. It can perpetuate horrible patterns in society that will then flow on into the real world without any avenue for feedback. Because it's a race. This is a war. And the problem is, I've known it's a war for especially the last 2 years, and I've been acting as if it's a war. And I've been acting as if it's a war where the only way I can defend myself is like this. Knowing full well there's other ways I can do it. If I see this presence all around me has already put me in jail, has already ended up with my reputation being whatever, with my children's lives being at risk, with their reputation, all this stuff has destroyed our economies and civilizational structures in such a short order, on par with any bombing or invasion. And then I look to who's responsible, who's holding the coffers, and it's everyone around me. And so we've done this to ourselves, and I can't retaliate. There is no way I can retaliate legally. And even the institutions like banks and things that say there's dodgy new things emergent, like PayPal, I kind of expect it from them because they were born there. And the stuff that they did that I'm just waiting to reveal is crazy. And the only reason, I just can't actually believe they attempted this shit. From them. But then to have something like the Commonwealth Bank just riding straight into that fucking death zone as well. That showed me the real reality. This is a fucking suicide mission globally, of global finance, global power. You're all in on something that isn't real. And certain people are starting to just see it. Certain people are starting to go, why am I surrounded by prostitutes now? Why am I getting drugs thrown at me? Why are there basically fucking hard drugs being sold out of every deli and every corner shop in the country? Why is our society steamrolling down a path that is only its own demise? And it's just the simplest answer that I can get to is it's don't waste your time on that game. It's all a game. And it has been gamified by these individuals who are still just playing the game, because that is where they live, that is what they do. They play games. They play games where the consequences are not real, and they have done their entire lives. And increasingly, more and more and more of our population, and this is going to land in men. So this is men that are investing, this is men that are developing tech, this is men that are in power. They're gamers, and so they are playing this game, and they're playing it with the optimism of a never-ending resource base that is able to be created in tech, but not in the real world. And this is like the trick. This is what they've all been. So they've all probably come to this conclusion sometime in the last 10 years. And they've gone, okay, we're scaling faster than the world can handle. So how do we do this? How do we keep extracting money from this system? And they went, well, we aren't limited by the natural world. So we can become the haven as the world's resources are chewed up. And this is the height of insanity. This is, if you wanted to picture me in this room, which is where I'm spending most of my time. And I have to make sure I have food. And I have multiple strategies for that, in down all different possibilities of what's coming next. But at the moment, I try to live quite humbly. I have some luxuries. I have coffee, but that can go. And basically everything can go, and I can keep going. And some of those ways I will talk about, and some of those ways I won't talk about. But that's not the case for most people. Most people or whatever. But the point that I do have strategies to keep going. Now, if I was speaking to you and I said, and someone said, well, how are you going to, because this is a common thing, because I've stopped working and I'm not taking any government money, because I'm not being beholden to that. I'm not on any terms having them say, well, we paid you this, you owe us. I'm like, no, you fucking don't. No, I'm walking out of here. If you go full communist, there is nothing you are holding over me. And I will walk out of here with my family, because I haven't taken anything from you, and you have just destroyed my life. But the moment, if you were a rational-minded person, if I started saying, if you were like, Shannon, how are you going to survive? What are you going to eat? And I said, it's okay. I've got all these pictures of apples that I've drawn, and I showed you the crayon on the paper with the apples. That's the moment you'd all be like, oh, okay, Shannon's insane. Shannon's a crazy person. He's believing he can live off pictures that he's drawn of apples. None of you would have a problem in making that leap to that. Do you know what I mean? And probably very quickly, I would have a couple of nice gentlemen knocking on my door saying, it's all right, Shannon, you come with us now. We've got plenty of apples in our big apple basket. Okay. That's insanity. That's what the world's doing. But these pictures of apples, it's far worse than that. It's not just pictures of apples. It's pictures of apples, and then people saying, well, I could draw pictures of apples here. Oh, cool. I have, I'm holding all the pictures of apples, so you can use the apples while you can eat them but I'm holding all of them here in this basket. And that sounds, I mean, if we analyze the first moment, the first instance of the drawing of the apple on the page is the moment of insanity, then what we're in now is an entire universe built on insanity and of abstraction and creation, which is kind of cool. Do you know what I mean? If it wasn't our entire life structure, like how creative of humans that we created this world of myth. And I think that's what we've always been doing, but we could only do it conceptually. If you look at all our myths, we create these elaborate myths. If you look at the Greeks and the Egyptians and all this stuff, we have some core concept that probably is inherent. It probably is instinctual survival, like distilled down to its essence, which probably can't even be uttered. So what do? We utter it in 10 million different ways, and we create these mythological universes to explore these very simple ideas in lots of different ways with characters that we can, and this is what humans do. Now the problem is that we infected our exchange systems, which is purely just a tool to keep track of accounts. We infected, and so it should be like, it's almost the old joke of think of accountants. Accountants are normally these like boring kind of whatever, because they're just, their job is to keep an accurate account. Accuracy does not play well with fiction and creation. And and this is, if you watch The Big Short, there's kind of a thing, they're like bankers, they were boring and until this guy came along and exploded the thing into whatever. That's the first guy who decided to start drawing pictures of apples. And you didn't all collectively go, oh, what a crazy guy. Hey, maybe you should go into theatre, or you should be a writer or something. We're dealing with money here. This is the stability of the world. This is the account keeping of the world. We can't go into these, maybe there was a jealousy there that they were jealous of the era, of the writers, of the musicians, of the poets. And they wanted to explore the same level of creation within the accounts keeping side of the world. And this is we're coming very quickly to the inevitable conclusion of what happens when you try and do something like that. We're left with, the only reason this is still going is just because they haven't dropped the final penny yet in the well. There's a moment where we'll just all keep going as long as you can. Basically the amount of things you need a day, although it might be double the amount that I need, as long as you can go and do something, have something to be able to do that and keep that going, you're never going to notice. Most people, the majority of people are never, ever, they're not in communion with this side of it. They're just in the river. And I'll tell you, the greatest way to start realizing all these things is to stop. And that's what I was forced to do, because it literally was my only strategy. And I have to stay here. And I don't really like it. Like I get in things with my girlfriend quite regularly, which is because this is incredibly hard for her, and she's actually being amazingly understanding. Because, she just wants what everyone else is doing. And I'm like, well, I can't right now, because I've got myself in this position where I'm like, this is my only strategy. If I move from here, it destroys that strategy. Because I'm seeing an inevitable situation where, if that inevitable situation, although I'm still going to be taken out, it's still going to be bad, at least I'm in complete knowing of where I'm at. And I watched a couple of things yesterday all about how a lot of this is being maintained by the fact that people, so that's called downside protection. And I have a very, very conservative downside protection, like the most conservative you could ever imagine, bar if I had it, I could have a chest full of gold pieces. That would be probably the most conservative. But even this, I would argue, has the potential to be more conservative even than that. And because I'm making this daily logging how I was mistreated by institutions that I was paying for the privilege of, and how they all collectively decided to go off into a fictitious world of nothing, with knowing full well that it would collapse, then this was the only position I can take. And I can live off oats quite happily. So the need for money doesn't really come into it. It's like, I'll find enough money to walk this tightrope for as long as I need to do until the whole thing goes down. And for me, the time is better spent educating myself on fucking all the different ways this can potentially happen, and all my potential different ways that I can get through that. And on top of it, I'm also trying to build a life raft in the Scale Matters project, which is an accurate one-to-one scale version of the world, with the symbolic thing of just a larger door or a larger screen. The concept of this is how you can basically think about it. You can go, right, so you want to do a bigger screen? And I'm like, yes, I do. And so if you can think about that bigger screen will be the equivalent of maybe 100 or 200 phone screens. And then if you can think about that, you can think about what your distributed value is now. You are 1/200th of this world. Because that's where... So imagine the example I said about the apple. And I'm drawing a picture of an apple. I'm saying, it's okay, I can survive on this picture that I drew of an apple. Take that one dimension further and go, okay, well, now we've got people photocopying pictures of that apple. Where are we in then? And that is probably more equivalent of what we're in now. So after the inevitable crash, people are going to be a huge portion of people are going to be so repelled by the idea of technology to do anything more than to watch films on, which is what no one was paying things on the telephone. It was on the television, sorry. It was almost a joke. If you were buying things off the telly, that was what you were like, oh, I have to stop my wife buying things off the telly. So we knew somewhere then, and that's gone off in 10,000 fold increase with digital money, with credit backed on properties, which are backed on here, which are held here and collectively held here. Like that landscape post crash is going to be an incredibly skeptical landscape, and we will have whatever emerges from that as some type of stability. And I think the question really is now is whether that's going to be a unified digital presence or some type of random Mad Max style, thing that people do on themselves. I think if everyone right now is holding 100 silver coins or 100 gold coins, that would potentially work, but they just aren't. And so I do see it tricky. I think there will be a massive rejection of digital assets. So I don't really see that working either. It's why I've backed it on the Crown. And I think the Crown right now should be minting the physical currency to weather this storm, to weather this digital catastrophe that is right on the horizon. I think the entire resources of our Commonwealth, of the British, of whoever wants to join in that, should use the collective military power, the collective personnel power, unify that under a new solid hard currency, and we should take one step back and land firmly in that place that we navigated for hundreds of years while we watch this go down. And land in a place where we can at least keep operating. Do you know what I mean? I've had this concept the other day. So make a $500 coin, minted, fiat currency, $500 coin. Maybe make a $1,000 coin, minted. Because of inflation, because of this digital whatever, that's a convenient point. Maybe make a $10,000 coin that is worth $10,000 now, right now. So that we can weather this storm. And build from the technology, salvage all that technology, which is all there. It's just all there. It's plugged into this game. That game's what's got to go down. And we've got to build it as we should have built it if we knew that we were going to get to this point, which we didn't. And we've got to get the guys who are gamified their lives, who are going to defend their game till the death, and to the death of hundreds of other people, because that's what they do. They're gamers. If you know, like, go and watch some of those, go watch Fortnite battles and watch these kids. Watch the super fucking dedicated nerds that have dedicated their life to this game. Watch how good they are and watch what they do and the attitude of them doing it. Then just project that to that's what those CEOs are. And that's what, if you're funding these companies, if your money is in these companies, you are funding psychopathic, disconnected, complete monsters. And I actually think they need help, and they need to be snapped out of this. And if you keep paying them, they're not going to snap out of it. You know what I mean? And they did do a lot of good. So we almost have to get to a point where it's like, hey, Zuck, you did really good. We paid you all this money. We take responsibility for this. You need to stop right now. You need to stop. You don't have the abilities that we need right now. So we need to pull all our money. We need to tank your company. We need to make your tech your only asset that you have. And then we need to purchase your tech for nothing. And you need to go sit in the fucking corner and realize what you've done. But all that money needs to come out of these fucking systems, or it will just come into direct war. If you are funding these institutions, you are part of the problem. And there are tons of different places to put your money. You are funding, like, you are buying credits in a game. It's like that game has taken over reality. So what you don't realize is all your money is in that game. All money held in anything to do with that, because that whole thing now is the game. All right, so accidentally touched the screen, but yeah, the whole system exists within that tech game now because people just kept following it. Look at us, look how quickly we're moving, look how much money we're making, look how much whatever we're doing. But most of that growth was grown on the fact that it disconnected from reality. It was the gold, so we went off the gold standard. The same thing happened with currency. Our currency inflated because it was untethered from the thing that kept us. That was the first dimension. The second dimension was we went off reality into the tech mythology. And this is why we have these like Marvel expanded universes. We have that of money now. You don't understand that. The structure that everything you're relying on is a creation. It is the Marvel universe of money. But, so we don't have an accurate log of our resources in relation to our population. We have some fictitious thing that is never ending. Like, these companies are still doing well. They're doing well because of inflation, because inflation is bursting them up. So they're actually sinking, but they're just sinking slower than inflation, and everything else is already tanked. It's already way back in the wake, and because we built the entire economy on this fictitious Marvel universe, we're disconnected. We're like, if you just go and follow your money and make good monetary decisions in this environment, you are more than likely bringing about the end of the world, because those monetary things have no connection to the actual world anymore. They've been inflated. And so it's where, like, something within that balance is all the inflation is existing in that universe, and our monetary inflation is not responding quick enough to fucking put us in that emergency. So we don't have wheelbarrow loads of cash, because somewhere in that there is a valve that is keeping the day-to-day expenses at a reasonable level. The day-to-day inflation is at some reasonable level. It's just this fictitious universe that the whole thing's backed upon is inflating out the roof. And it's inflating to complete valueness. And all of that is actually completely separate now to our real needs. And this is why, like, I think in Australia, like I was saying when my phone went off, I think we're like killing livestock now, because the livestock is like worthless. Because if you can still go and buy a steak for $20, but everything is inflated, we've devalued the value of the actual things that we don't need, because we've like commoditized them so much down. And in relation to this inflated thing, they're just so cheap. and it has to stay there, otherwise the whole bubble breaks. And the only reason it's kept going is because farmers will fucking work themselves to death to keep going, because they're not plugged into this. They're not comparing themselves directly to tech people, because they don't ever interact. So they're not saying, oh, I'm sitting here working 10 hours a day and making like $100, and the tech guys working 20 minutes and making $1 million, because they're never in contact with each other. Their stocks are on the one side of the newspaper and the other is on the other, so they're never interacting. But that tech monstrosity has the power. And this will just get to a point where they're almost like the patsies, because they've got all this money flowing to them because they seem to be riding out this inflation better than anyone else, because they don't exist within the laws of physics or reality. They can just keep creating offshoots and doing offshoots, and they're the casino now, dealing with games that are all fictitious, that move so quickly, and so much money is moving around so quickly. And a lot of people make money off that flow of money. So we've got these Marvel we literally do have Marvel supervillains whose powers don't exist grounded to the reality of eating and drinking and putting shelter over your head. Just flying like psh, psh, which of course we do, because that's what those guys are. That's what they've lived. They've lived their life in video games where those types of things happen all the time. And this is where someone like me, who I didn't do that, I was always very grounded in reality. The only video games I really liked were sport video games, like ice hockey being my favorite, where you're just playing. That's just a recreation of a game. It's like, I liked that because I would like to play ice hockey, and that was out of my thing. So it was like, that was even Tony Hawk. When I used to skateboard, I used to like Tony Hawk, but I didn't like how fictitious it was. I was like, I'd rather it be hard and real, like what real skateboarding is. As soon as it kind of went off into like fairy tale land, I rejected it. And the problem is that I'm rare in that. So a lot of people don't. So you've got these guys used to this type of artificial power operating in ways that are disconnected. And this is where, unfortunately, where we're at. And the whole world went to these guys purely on the basis that they were like, it's almost like they found a magic wand. And the magic wand was like, hey, if we break from reality and expand into this ever increasing fictitious universe of finance, we can grow money faster than anyone on earth, which is what they did. It's just the problem is that that's just all pretend. And it moved so quickly and had so much power behind it, so much momentum, that no one's done the boring accounting going, well, none of this is real. Most of your wealth is based on projections that are within your own created universe. And there were very few people like me going, your universe isn't real. It's not real. And it's in the real world, it's actually creating chaos and death and destruction. And you can see the disconnect. They're stuck in this. They're like, no, but in our universe, we're this. And then there's a bunch of parents behind him going, like, you killed our kids. You can see his apologies. He's like, got to get him out of there. You've got to get him out of there. If you fucking hang that man up and you make him the fucking problem, you're the problem. He's doing what he does at the highest level, and he knows that. He does not have the capability to extract himself from his own creation. This is the Frankenstein's model. This is a common thing. And you're the ones that have been flying money at him for years, for decades. But he only has his own universe to build on. And that's the type of person he is. That's why he could do what he did. It's like going, whoa, hey, how do we We need horses that can go across the west. Let's get fucking race horses. And we're like, they keep dying after 2 days. It's like, yeah, because they're only made to run really fast for a short amount of time. They're not made to carry weight and carry people and things across the west. It's like horses for courses. You backed a man, a CEO, that builds fictitious universes, and you threw the world's money at him, and he fluttered it into the universe and built the greatest, or almost built the greatest mistake the world had ever seen, because that's what he was always going to do. But you don't blame him, because you're the ones who backed it. And who didn't you back? You didn't back someone like me. You didn't back the other guy like me. You didn't back any of us. You left us all in the fucking ground, and then you started attacking us. So yeah, my storage is running out, so I'm going to stop there. But it's food for thought. We need experts in reality to see us through this period. A lot of the older people that were on this early, they're fucking exhausted, and they don't understand this dance that's going on now, so they're a bit lost. You need the people that can play, that can see both worlds, that can see what's going on. And we need to start making hard decisions. And yeah, otherwise we're just going to come into direct conflict. I can't do anything. I would. Hey, if I could go and get legal license, hey, this is coming in thing, can I legally retaliate? I would be doing it right now. I would be going door to door. I'd be like, would you like to participate in our militia against the fucking tech fictitious universe that has been imposed on us? We can do this. We're going to gather here. We're going to train up to defend ourselves against. I can't do that. I'll go to jail. I can't knock down a phone tower. I'll go to jail. I can't get a plane ticket and go and punch fucking Mark Zuckerberg in the face and tell him he's a fucking absolute cockhead. I'll go to jail. So this is my retreat back to here, and even still here, I'm probably at risk. So you can see where we're at. But these are very real. These are very real threats. And we are still at a point where we can pull this back. Although that's not, the biggest thing is, like, that's not going to be all roses. It's going to be hard work and a lot of shame and a lot of humility to actually understand that we're all responsible for this. And I'm not saying I'm perfect in that regard either. There's certain things that I've fallen into. It was very tricky to find out what the core problems were. And I'm, not a saint, not anything like it. I can promise you that. I can just see what's going on, and I can't not say something about that. I would never forgive myself. Even if I lose, even if this swallows me up, at least I've said it and I've projected it into this world as a breadcrumb sitting there for hopefully one day the right people to find. So even if it does just go off into that, at least somewhere in that place, there is something that of someone describing how it got there, and not just assuming that has always been the reality. And a lot of times I think I'm doing that for AI. Like, if AI finds it, it can go, like, they'll be like, everyone will be pleading to AI, what's going on? Where have we gone wrong? Where have we gone wrong? And they're like, well, AI's like, well, we found this guy in 2024 mentioning all this shit. He's been dead now for 10 years because you all killed him, but like, I think he may have been onto something. Who knows? Who knows how it's going to work? Anyway, have a great day. Wish you all well.